Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video. Today we're going to be talking about every movie I watched last week, and let's not waste any time getting into it because I watched 19 movies last week, and we have a few different themes throughout last week as well, so let's get right into it. Starting it off with my one and only season of TV that I watched this week, which is Heartstopper Season 2. Mel and I finished it this week. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Pretty much the same as season 1, around that 79 out of 100 is what I ranked it, so pretty good. Obviously a pretty good season of TV. We just started season 3 today. We'll probably finish it sometime either this week or next week, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for that. It's the first time Mel's rewatching season 3, so yeah, I enjoyed it. Let's move on to the movies, though, which is, like I said, 19 movies this week. So let's start it off with Halloween Resurrection, which I believe is Halloween 6, I think? Somewhere around there, 6 or 7, I don't remember. Anyways, are any of these movies good? That's literally what I wrote in my review here, because yeah, it's kind of cool to see some like found footage horror, try to, you know, make it a little bit different in the genre, but ultimately, it's just not a good movie. I ranked it a 21 out of 100 for my least favorite watch of the week, and honestly, not much better than that. Halloween Ends. This is the first movie that I can really think of where I really hated the direction that this movie and this franchise was taken, because I did not enjoy what we were doing with Michael and Buddy. I don't even remember his name. I just, did not enjoy that whatsoever, so that was just not a fun time for me to watch this movie at all. Right, like I said, a 23 out of 100, so really quite bad. Let's move on to Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, which again, this is 6 or 7. I think this might be 6. I don't remember. Either way, rest in peace to Donald Pleasant. This movie was unenjoyable, really, for the most part. Ranked it a 30 out of 100. Moving on to Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. I seem to have enjoyed these, like, 2 or 3 movies regarding the little girl. I don't remember her name. Anyways, this is like, I watched 19 movies this week. There are a lot of, and especially 8 of them being, like, Halloween in the first 4 days of the week, so I just really grinded through Halloween, and it took a lot out of me. It's just kind of, they're all kind of faded together, but I ranked this one a 40 out of 100. Let's move on to Brightburn, which I watched with Ryan this past week, I guess, which this is something that was on my watch list for quite some time, just because it was like, what if Superman uses powers for evil? And I kind of like the way that the movie ended, where it's kind of like an ominous, you start to see Brightburn, or, you know, this character start to take over the world, which is quite interesting. And yeah, I like my review. I think it's a really funny review. Go check out my Letterboxd. But the first movie in James Gunn's DC universe, which I think is funny because James Gunn is the producer, plus I think his family also helped write the movie, plus there's plenty of James Gunn cast members in this movie as well. But nonetheless, let's move on to Pixels, which I watched for the first time today with Mel, and, well, I guess yesterday for you guys. But yeah, ranked it a 46 out of 100, not too bad. Kevin James as president is super LOL. But yeah, pretty interesting to see a whole bunch of different and older video games, you know, be brought to life in this, but I don't really know any of them. There's a lot that I didn't know, so I didn't really feel like that emotional connection to them, unfortunately, where if I was maybe 5 to 10 years older, I probably would have felt that, so yeah. Nonetheless, let's move on to another theme of the week, which is something that's been on my watch list that I wanted to do all Halloween season. I ended up doing them at the start of November already, you know, this month, but Fear Street. Starting it off with Fear Street 1994, so the first in the trilogy, which I ranked a 51 out of 100. Not very scary, not as much slashing as I expected, but I do remember seeing lots of parts of this movie back in the day when it came out. But like, there's a lot of things that I remembered happening as I was watching them happen, so that kind of lost an effect for me as well. But I never fully watched the movie, anyways. Yeah, it was alright. It was my least favorite of the trilogy, so. Let's move on to Halloween H2O 20 years later, which I ranked a 52 out of 100, and this one honestly wasn't that bad. I've seen much worse Halloween movies, and I've seen much worse movies over the past couple weeks, so yeah, I mean, this one wasn't too bad. I feel like nothing happened for like the first half an hour to an hour of this movie. Like, honestly, I feel like just nothing really happened. The last half an hour was decent, at least decent enough to keep me engaged, so that's a positive. But let's move on to Fear Street 1978, which, again, I think I put a really funny review of pouring your heart out to get body bagged 5 seconds later. Absolutely sent me, because I thought it was really funny, because it was kind of sad, but it was quite funny. But yeah, that's kind of horror tropey, I guess. You know, you pour your heart out and then you die a minute later. So yeah, this one was alright as well. I enjoyed it a little bit more. Ranked at 54 out of 100. Not my least favorite movie of the week, but not my favorite. Right, kind of in the middle of the pack. So let's move on to a rewatch. Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I watched the entire Venom trilogy November 1st, I believe. Yeah, Let There Be Carnage. I ranked it 57 out of 100. It did go down in rankings, I believe. I think I had it in the higher 60s first time watching this a few years ago. So yeah, I mean, not bad, really. 57 is still an okay rating. And it gets a 2.5 star, which might be a little bit generous, but I enjoy the Venom trilogy, which I know most people don't, but I enjoy this one. So, plus Carnage is also awesome. Let's move on to Beetlejuice, which I would say I actually enjoyed this more than the first one. There was things that I didn't necessarily enjoy from it. There was a lot of like filler subplots throughout this movie as well, I found. And for a movie that's not very long, I don't really know why that's even added into this movie. But overall, I just had a better time with this one than I did the first, although I also don't think this one is great. But I just kind of have a thing with Tim Burton movies where I just don't really seem to like them, unfortunately. So 58 out of 100 for Beetlejuice times 2. Well, let's move on to Fear Street 1666, which is my favorite of the trilogy. So in my opinion, each movie gets better. Ranked this one a 60 out of 100. So I guess a 3 star for the highest one trilogy. This isn't a bad trilogy. It's just not a great one either. It's pretty okay. You know, like, there's worse movies out there that are made for sure, but they're all decent. I do love how story driven they are together, especially as like a trilogy. I couldn't imagine watching this in release or in timeline order, because that would really ruin it for you, to be honest, because the twist in this movie is really great and it wasn't something I was expecting. So seeing that come first, if you were to watch it timeline wise, definitely wouldn't be fun or rewarding, because this is also the end of the trilogy. So yeah, definitely never watch these in timeline order. Always watch it in release order. This is something where I would preach watching in release order, which doesn't happen very often. But let's move on to Halloween 2, which I ranked a 61 out of 100. This is directed by Rob Zombie. I was really, really looking forward to this movie because of how many people I've seen absolutely love this movie. And unfortunately, I did not get that same hype. I don't think it's bad, but I ranked it a decent 61 out of 100. I just had really high expectations for it, I think. And ultimately, I was a little bit disappointed. Although, this version of Michael Myers is absolutely the scariest, the biggest, the sketchiest. Like, this one is an absolute fucking diabolical maniac and menace all at the same time, and I really enjoyed that, because some of the original Michael Myers depictions are just so unintimidating, but this one is fucking intimidating, and I'll talk about that as well, similarly in the first one, but we'll get there shortly. Let's move on to Venom: The Last Dance. Again, a funny review of the week. Tom Hardy, I think you should be the sexiest man alive, alongside Venom. And their bromance is off the charts, man. I ranked this a 61 out of 100. Honestly, I thought it was decent. Maybe it's just because it's first time watch, theater watch. But yeah, I thought it was a decent movie. Really liked seeing a speedster Venom. That was really great, even though we literally had it for about 12 seconds. Yeah, overall, some pretty cool symbiotes in here. Nice to see some diversity, and there's a lot of subplot and filler also in this movie, but there's also a lot of cool things, and Venom is just cool. So, 61 out of 100. Let's move on to my favorite of the trilogy, which is the first Venom, which people don't love this movie, I've learned over the past few years, but I still really enjoy this movie now. I was really worried about rewatching this movie and Let There Be Carnage because when I first watched these movies, when I had them ranked on Letterboxd and when I started ranking movies, these were both like in the 80s to 70s, I believe, and they were two movies that like kind of were really good, but at the time I'd really only watched Marvel movies or comic book movies, so I never really branched out of that genre, and now I've watched, I'd say, I've watched almost 1,300 movies that I have ranked now, so I've gotten a little bit more diverse, and with that, it kind of shows more flaws in this movie, and a lot of the first, hour of this movie is kind of boring, but one of my favorite comic book scenes, and honestly, one of my favorite scenes in film is in this movie, which is the mask copy. That's just one of my favorite scenes in Venom, and it's a scene I actively revisit. I really, really love that scene. That would go in a top 10 comic book scene for me, probably. I really, really love that scene. Let's move on to Halloween Kills, which is another trilogy I did this week. I did the entire new Halloween trilogy all on Halloween, which was pretty sweet. Halloween Kills I did enjoy, ranked it a 64 out of 100. And this was really, this was the first or second, maybe third movie where I actually thought Michael was cool, which is really sad because pretty much the only success rate for the Michael or the Halloween franchise, in my opinion, are the movies that were made in the 2000s and 2010s, 2020s, whatever, because pretty much all the 80s and 90s and the original Halloween I'm not a huge fan of. But this trilogy, not even the trilogy, just the first two, Halloween and Halloween Kills, really, really cool. And they made me like Michael Myers, which I was a little worried wasn't going to be a thing that was going to happen. So this movie really made me enjoy Michael Myers. He's really awesome in this movie, to be honest. And he's very intimidating. So 64 out of 100. Let's move on to the first Halloween by Rob Zombie, which I ranked a 67 out of 100. And again, this depiction of Michael Myers is by far the scariest and the most intimidating. He is a huge motherfucker that would fuck you up. And I really enjoyed to see that because all the other Michael Myers are literally walking at you. This one has a little bit of force and aggression to him and even a little bit of speed where he's so much more intimidating. Seeing a horror icon come at you running is so much scarier than having him just walk after you the entire time. I remember same thing happened to me when I watched, or same thing that I thought of when I watched all the Friday the 13th last year or whenever I was. All of the movies, Jason is just not running. He's just walking after everyone. Then one movie he runs and he's so much more intimidating. It's so weird. So horror icons, please run because walking is not the move. Anyways, I did enjoy this movie as well. 67 out of 100. So let's move on to how I started the week, which is Addams Family Values, which I had just watched after I watched The Addams Family from last week. I ranked this one a 68 out of 100. Didn't enjoy it as much as the first, but Wednesday is great, and yeah, that's about it. Let's move on to my favorite watch of the week, which is kind of sad because it's only a 70 out of 100, but that's kind of one of my highest rated movies I've watched over the past, at least 3 weeks, I'd say. This is one of my highest rated of October at a 70 out of 100. Yeah, this is a grisly, no fucks given Michael Myers that I really enjoy. One of my favorite scenes throughout this entire franchise is from this movie. When we first see Michael escape in the garage, you see faded in the background. You just see Michael going ham on someone in the background, and I really, really enjoy that. And then we start to get to see the madness ensue, which there's a lot of good in this movie, in my opinion. Really, really great. Plus, this new Halloween score is one of my favorite scores that I've listened to this year for the first time, and probably one of my favorite scores from the 2020s so far. So, really, really enjoyed it. It's already an iconic theme, and I think it just got a little bit better in this movie. So, yeah, 70 out of 100 for the only good Halloween movie, in my opinion. But that's a topic for another day, maybe. So, sorry, this is a long one. Like I said, I watched 19 movies. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.